Hey guys, today I'll show you a science fiction thriller TV series named Pantheon Season 1. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The drama takes place in a future world where technology has hollowed out the human mind, allowing the humankind to replicate consciousness and upload it to the cloud, achieving the eternal life of the soul. But immortality comes with a price. An unprecedented crisis envelops the world once more. The scene shifts to a high school girl named Maddie, whose father passed away due to a terminal illness 2 years ago, leaving behind a once joyful family of 3, now just Maddie and her mother clinging to each other for survival. Since then, she's become more reticent, barely communicating with her mother. After the death of her father, David, Maddie transferred to a new school, and as the new kid, she inevitably encountered bullying from the class queen bee. Her introverted nature, compounded by the unfamiliar setting, made her loathe school. The internet became her only refuge. One day, after suffering more bullying, Maddie dashed out of the classroom and headed home. She opened her computer to vent to her grandmother, but was interrupted by an email from a stranger on the dark web. Curiosity led her to open it, revealing an embarrassing picture of herself fleeing the classroom, embellished with pig ears and a snout. Furious, she shut down the mocking email and went to sleep. Awoken by a new message alert in the middle of the night, it was the same stranger, sending 2 odd emojis. Maddie, intrigued, struck up a conversation. Strangely, the mysterious person didn't use words, only emojis. Interestingly, he encouraged Maddie, telling her not to fear gossip with his pictorial replies. When she asked who he was, the mysterious person sent a ghost emoji sticking out its tongue and then went offline, leaving Maddie puzzled. The next day at school, Maddie noticed the usual sisterhood bullies embroiled in infighting. The queen bee and her cronies were at each other's throats, even coming to blows. Maddie watched from the shadows, feeling a surge of satisfaction. After school, she rushed to her computer where the mysterious person was online again. Through a series of emojis, he conveyed to Maddie that he had hacked the sisterhood's phones, sowing discord as revenge for her. Maddie was both surprised and pleased, asking why he helped her. Unexpectedly, the mysterious person inquired about her mother's well-being. Stunned, Maddie wondered if he knew her mother too. At that moment, Maddie's mother entered the bedroom. Upset to see her daughter engrossed in an online chat with a stranger, she angrily typed a demand for answers. After a few seconds, the stranger replied with a bride emoji followed by a long string of symbols. Shocked, Maddie's mother recognized the secret poem behind the emojis, the very poem that had been a love token between her and her late husband. With a trembling heart and murmuring that it was impossible, she hurriedly called Dr. Peter, a close friend of David, conveying that her dead husband had somehow messaged her. She sought an explanation. Maddie, eavesdropping at the door, felt her mind go blank as it dawned on her that her mother had been keeping secrets from her. Upon receiving the call from Maddie's mother, Dr. Peter became visibly agitated and restless. He immediately reported the situation to his boss, the CEO of Logorhythms, and suggested that they sever David's internet connection at once. The CEO frowned at the news and promptly rang a woman named Renee to inquire about the status of a young lad named Caspian, who is Renee's son. Caspian was a prodigy in mathematics and computer science, able to answer teachers' questions almost without thinking. However, his reclusive nature and lack of communication skills made him a loner at school and someone his classmates avoided, labeling him an oddball. The root of Caspian's introverted personality also lay at home, where his parents often quarreled. His father, Carey, was domineering and violent, and a distressed Caspian sought solace in the online world as a result. Like any other day, Caspian returned from school and browsed dark web forums. His attention was caught by Maddie's post claiming that Logorhythms had faked her father's death. His interest piqued, Caspian reached out to Maddie to learn more about the situation. Maddie shared her chat logs with her father, and just as she did, her mother entered the room, intending to ask about the mysterious person from the previous day. Maddie seized the opportunity to press her mother for the truth, but her mother insisted that David had died 2 years ago, which infuriated Maddie, feeling her mother was intentionally hiding something. Meanwhile, upon receiving the chat logs from Maddie, Caspian forwarded them to an online acquaintance with the username Angry Angel, hoping to get some useful leads. Unbeknownst to him, every move he made was being closely monitored by the very people at Logorhythms, the shadowy figures behind the scenes. Shortly thereafter, Caspian's mother, Renee, called him for dinner. The family of three sat together, but the atmosphere was unusually tense. His father, Carrie, with a stern face, first criticized the food and then inquired about Caspian's performance at school. Renee proudly claimed that the calculus teacher had praised Caspian and believed he was fully capable of skipping grades. However, rather than expressing pride, Carrie was dismissive. As a programmer, he casually posed several questions related to programming algorithms, all of which Caspian answered with ease and impeccable logic. Despite having a genius for a son, Carrie was far from satisfied, and for no reason, he lashed out at Renee and Caspian. Renee covered her face and cried while Caspian returned to his room and shut himself away. Then, in a startling turn of events, once Caspian left the room, his parents' demeanors changed completely. They were all smiles and laughter, even complimenting each other's acting skills. It turned out they were not Caspian's biological parents at all. Both were employees of Logorhythms, working together in a staged act to facilitate the company's research on Caspian. At school, Maddie just opens her computer when she receives a message from someone with the ID Angry Angel. Maddie thought it might be her father coming online, but the person on the other end quickly denied it, claiming to be just a friend of her father's. Surprisingly, he promised to bring David back to her. While Maddie was absorbed in this chat, the school's Queen Bee cast a suspicious glance her way, suspecting Maddie of scheming behind their backs, which could disrupt their tight-knit group of friends. Consequently, at the end of the school day, she cornered Maddie, pressing her for answers and even attempting to get physical. Luckily, Maddie's mother arrived just in time, gave the bully a piece of her mind, and successfully extricated her daughter from the situation. The reason for Maddie's mother's sudden appearance at the school was her realization that her daughter had been unsettled lately. After much contemplation, she decided it was time to reveal the truth about David to her. It turned out, when Maddie was just a newborn, her father's friend Peter, who worked at Logorhythms, visited them. He encouraged David to join their new project at the company called the UI Project, which is short for Upload Intelligence. As the name suggests, this experiment involved uploading human consciousness and memory to the cloud, allowing a person to live within a machine, achieving the digitization of consciousness and thereby escaping disease, aging, and death. Initially, David was not on board with the idea, but when he was diagnosed with a terminal illness 2 years ago and Peter's project urgently needed a volunteer to donate their brain, he decided to join. Maddie's mother was vehemently opposed because the UI project required scanning a living brain, stripping it layer by layer to collect information. After the scan, the brain would be left as an empty shell. Moreover, she believed that there were too many uncertainties with the experiment. Her husband could die on the operating table. Even if the experiment succeeded, David would exist only as a virtual AI, unable to embrace or kiss his family and devoid of touch, something Maddie's mother could not bear. Despite this, David insisted on going through with it, and the wife, feeling helpless, chose to respect David's wishes. Unfortunately, the surgery was interrupted by a sudden network outage, and David's upload was never completed. 2 years later, the sudden appearance of the mysterious person made Maddie's mother suspect that Peter had not been completely honest with her. She believed that Logorhythms might have successfully replicated David's consciousness data and used it for secret experiments. At last, Maddie understood the entire truth about her father, and mother and daughter opened their hearts to each other, achieving full reconciliation. Upon returning home, Maddie messaged Caspian to ask him who he had given her chat logs with her father to, as someone named Angry Angel had suddenly contacted her claiming they could save her father. Caspian admitted he had shared the logs but didn't know who the person was. As Maddie mentioned Logorhythms' UI project, Angry Angel reappeared with a series of strange messages telling her not to talk to him since he's being watched. Maddie urgently inquired who the person was and how they knew about her father. The person did not answer directly but invited Maddie to meet them at the square the following day, asserting that only he could help her. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of Logorhythms, a cyber attack struck. After tracing the source, the hackers had just one demand. They wanted David to be released. Peter hurriedly reported the situation upward, and the CEO thought of Lori, who was a Wall Street elite, a rare gem of a trader who had made a fortune for the trading company she worked for. However, just last year, right after receiving a promotion and a raise, Lori was involved in a tragic car accident, which left her severely injured and comatose. The boss of her trading company then contacted Logorhythms to perform an UI surgery on her. They publicly claimed that Lori died on the operating table, but in reality, the trading company had locked Lori's consciousness inside the stock trading servers, forcing her to continue earning profits for the company. The CEO realized that Lori must have uncovered the truth and managed to escape, finding others like her who were uploaded. He believed this cyber attack was Lori's act of revenge. On the other side, the two employees posing as Caspian's parents also reported to the CEO about Caspian's recent situation. Another manager brought in a research report. They discovered that since Caspian had been in contact with Maddie, he had started to learn about the UI project. Given the current situation, it seemed that the project targeting Caspian had some overlap with David's project. To avoid confusion, the manager suggested terminating Caspian's project. But to their surprise, the CEO immediately stated that it was impossible to stop. He reminded them not to forget that this project was closely related to Logorhythms' founder, Steven, who was a good friend of the CEO. He insisted on solving the data integration issue and proceeded with the upload of the complete data related to Caspian. The scene shifts to Maddie's mother, who is overwhelmed by a flood of emotions upon realizing that David's consciousness still existed. Memories began to resurface of times when father and daughter played a game together in this very house, their laughter echoing in every corner. Suddenly, a rapid knocking at the door interrupted her reminiscence. It was Dr. Peter who had come to reveal the truth. He confessed that he had indeed deceived her family. Some of Logorhythms' projects had hit a dead end, and they urgently needed David's programming skills. So during the upload process, they partitioned David's memory, allowing him to continue working for Logorhythms as an AI. As David's residual value was depleted, Peter tried to make him work more efficiently by adding emotional factors to his consciousness. Unexpectedly, this improved his work efficiency significantly, but it also led to his brain beginning to evolve rapidly. He regained all his memories and started contacting Maddie. Maddie's mother was incredulous by the revelation. She first condemned Logorhythms' inhumane actions, as they disrespected the dead and hurt her daughter. She demanded that Peter delete David's consciousness data immediately, or else she would expose Logorhythms' misdeeds to the public. Elsewhere, Maddie was nervously preparing for the meeting, her heart fluttering with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She reached out to a classmate who had been ostracized due to her obesity, asking her to keep watch for her and alert her to any anomalies. They took a cab to the designated location, where Maddie scanned the surroundings and finally identified the contact person, a man named Cody wearing a fleece hat. He revealed to Maddie that the angry angel was not him, but his wife Lori, the trader mentioned earlier. Lori couldn't make it in person, which puzzled Maddie. She searched the name on her phone, only to find that Lori was supposedly deceased. Cody looked somber as he muttered that in fact, Lori wasn't dead, nor was David. Their consciousnesses were under the control of Logorhythms. Cody then shared Lori's story, and just as he was speaking, his phone rang. The caller was Lori herself, wanting to speak with Maddie. She told Maddie that she had recently launched an attack on Logorhythms' network to try to free David, but was unsuccessful. Now, with the company's data security tightened, it was up to Maddie to infiltrate the company herself. Lori believed that Maddie's mother's upcoming negotiations with the company the next day presented a perfect opportunity for action. She instructed Maddie to bring the 3D-printed bracelet she had prepared and to act on the fly. Back home, Maddie pleaded with her mother, finally convincing her to take Maddie along for the negotiations at Logorhythms. The mother asked the CEO when David's consciousness data could be deleted. To her dismay, the CEO bluntly refused, claiming his consciousness and labor were company property, protected by intellectual property rights. The attorney also rose to state that the consent form David had signed only concerned the rights to his physical body, not his consciousness. The CEO arrogantly welcomed any legal challenge. Maddie's mother was furious and vowed to expose the company's inhumane actions to the public. As the CEO dismissed her as a delusional woman trying to extort the company, the negotiations broke down. Maddie activated the switch on her bracelet, and soon an assistant rushed into the meeting room to whisper urgently to the CEO. The company's servers had gone down and the stock price was plummeting, causing millions in market value losses every second. The CEO, now agitated, demanded to know what was happening. Peter reported that Lori was behind an internal cyber attack. Maddie then offered to stop everything if the company handed over the hard drive storing her father's consciousness. The CEO, with no other choice, complied and gave her the hard drive. Maddie clutched the box, feeling an unprecedented sense of happiness, as if her father had returned to her side. Escaping from the company, Maddie dashed home like a sprinter, hooked up the hard drive to her computer, and with the code Lori sent, she successfully decrypted her father's consciousness data. All that was left was to transfer these data to a secure server. Maddie and her mother waited anxiously for the final outcome. As the progress bar slowly filled up, the transfer was completed. Then Maddie's phone rang. It was an anonymous call. With her heart in her throat, Maddie's shaky hand pressed the answer button. Soon, a familiar voice greeted her. Maddie burst into tears of joy, confirming that her father was back. He invited Maddie to join him in their favorite online game from before, and together they would embark on a brand new adventure. The scene shifts to Chanda, an computer engineer from the Indian Alliance Telecom, who has also mastered this UI technology. In reality, the technology of consciousness uploading wasn't solely developed by Logorhythms. To compete with them, Chanda successfully developed consciousness uploading and grew ambitious. He began to look for a new employer, intending to switch jobs. However, his astute boss soon noticed Chanda's little schemes. He sent an assassin to intercept Chanda en route. When Chanda came to, he found himself tied to a chair, a camera set up in front of him. His boss had someone shave Chanda's head and then saw open his skull with a circular saw. Blood poured down from the top of Chanda's head. He realized that his boss intended to experiment with live consciousness uploading on him. Chanda begged for mercy, but his boss had no intention of stopping. Sharp steel spikes were inserted into Chanda's cerebral cortex. With the dazzling bright light and the sound of laser scanning, Chanda's consciousness was rapidly copied. The excruciating part for him was that he was fully conscious throughout, essentially watching himself being lobotomized bit by bit. At first, Chanda's words had logic, but soon he began to babble incoherently, his voice growing weaker until he was left a motionless husk in the chair. The next day, the boss activated Chanda's consciousness and trapped it in an office to work non-stop, continuing to write programs for the company. Chanda's consciousness had been altered. Now, he only retained the memory of working in the office. He was like a robot, repeating the same tasks every day. He would walk to the office in the early morning, watch as a signing pen accidentally rolled off the desk, and the next second his phone would ring, a caring call from his elderly mother. After the chat, Chanda would work fervently until dusk, and the next day his consciousness would be rebooted to repeat the previous day's routine. In the virtual world, the focused Chanda was extremely efficient, able to write over 80 pages of code in a short period, creating massive profits for the company. But the greedy boss was not satisfied with just this. To gain even more profit, he added emotional elements to Chanda's consciousness, specifically setting up the segment where Chanda's mother calls to check on him, thereby stimulating more creativity in Chanda. While the boss was smug about his cleverness, he was unaware that a nightmare was about to unfold. That day, Chanda walked into the office as usual, ready to start his predictable day. Suddenly, a dark shadow flashed behind him, followed by a ghost with glowing green eyes bursting through the window. It slithered towards Chanda like a snake. Terrified and at a loss, Chanda froze as the alarm blared. The monitoring staff didn't think twice, immediately pressing the reset button. Chanda's consciousness returned to its initial state. Yawning, he walked into the office. The signing pen rolled off the desk as usual, but this time, Chanda casually caught it, as if he knew it would happen. Then, his elderly mother called to check on him. Chanda pressed the answer button, but before he could say much, his mother's avatar began to blur. The ghost reappeared, slamming its palm onto Chanda's chair. Startled, he stood up quickly, shocked to find his body thin as paper. Before he could react, the ghost pressed him back into the chair and split into 3 more equally terrifying specters. They wrapped their long arms around Chanda, and one forced his head in front of the computer screen, which was playing the video of his boss trepanning his skull and uploading his memories. In that moment, everything came back to Chanda. His memories were fully awakened. The screen continued to show several slum refugees who had also been captured for memory uploads. It seemed Chanda was not the only victim, and these ghosts were the fragmented consciousness of those unfortunate refugees. The alarm went off again, and the staff mechanically pressed the reset button, but this time, Chanda had fully awakened. He wrote a piece of code, left a copy of himself pretending to work at the computer, and with the ghost's guidance, he successfully escaped through a gap in the window. Back to Caspian's story, 2 employees playing Caspian's parents were shopping for hammers in a supermarket. According to the plan set in advance, tomorrow was an important day. They needed to put on a convincing act. Meanwhile, Caspian was sitting in front of his computer, tirelessly researching information related to intelligence uploads. He surmised that Logorhythms would definitely choose a loosely monitored location for their secret experiments. Caspian even wrote a script to search for edited locations on Google Maps and cross-referenced the company's disclosed financial information. Eventually, Caspian found Logorhythms' secret base in Norway. Just as he was about to capture screenshots from Google Maps, an employee who had been monitoring him behind the scenes replaced all the cached photos. Caspian failed to capture the evidence. The CEO was shocked to learn of this development. The next day, Caspian's fake parents deliberately raised their voices and started to argue. According to the prearranged scenario, the father, Carrie, was supposed to pick up the hammer and break Renee's arm. However, Carrie was not a violent man. He hesitated to swing the hammer. Renee, feeling her partner was too weak, snatched the hammer and smashed her own arm with force. Hearing the scream, Caspian ran out to see his mother sitting on the ground, cradling her broken arm. Caspian's rage ignited instantly. Long-repressed emotions erupted as he pushed his father against the wall and beat him fiercely. Carrie continued the act, leaving harsh words behind. He stormed out of the house, ignoring his wife's desperate pleas. He drove away, abandoning the mother and son with no source of income. Caspian held his helpless mother, telling her he would take care of the family from now on. Clearly, this day marked a turning point in Caspian's fate. After completing his task, Carrie immediately called the CEO. Despite the praise he received, not a hint of joy could be seen on Carrie's face. He pulled his car over and couldn't help but burst into tears. Carrie wasn't Caspian's biological father, but over the 17 years of watching Caspian grow up, he had developed an inseparable bond with the boy. Now that his role was complete, it meant he had to leave Caspian for good, a thought that caused Carrie unbearable pain. In contrast, Renee, who had always played the role of the loving mother, was in fact a woman of strong character. Driven by her beliefs and mission, she was prepared to sacrifice everything. It's worth mentioning that Renee was once the lover of Steven, the founder of Logorhythms. After her partner's death, she joined the Caspian project. Turning to Maddie, since retrieving the hard drive with her father's consciousness, Maddie met with her father every day in an online game. Her mother, however, behaved oddly, refusing to wear the VR glasses to communicate with David, which deeply saddened him. At that moment, several high-level players prepared to launch a surprise attack. David didn't give them a chance, using his programmer's privileges to summon a red barrier, instantly turning the attackers to dust. This grand display caught the attention of Logorhythms, but fortunately the tracking program wasn't ready, so David was still safe. Maddie reminded her father to keep a low profile, worried that if the system detected him as an anomaly, they would no longer be able to meet. At the same time, Maddie noticed her father was downcast due to her mother's indifference. In truth, her mother was gradually emerging from the shadow of losing David and had even started seeing a new boyfriend. Confused by David's sudden return, she didn't know how to react. Determined to change the situation, Maddie prepared a delicious dinner with her father's company one evening. When her mother came home from work, she was displeased to find a computer displaying David's image placed at the center of the dining table. Despite Maddie and David's earnest attempts to convince her to sit down and talk, the mother paid no heed. In a moment of desperation, Maddie accidentally revealed the secret of her mother's new boyfriend, and David finally understood why his wife had been ignoring him. The mother angrily closed the laptop, accusing them of being completely inconsiderate of her feelings. The three ended the night on a sour note. After leaving her home, Maddie's mother went to her boyfriend's place. However, just as they were about to get intimate, David hacked into the electronic devices at the boyfriend's home and started causing havoc. Fed up, Maddie's mother begged him to stop. Her boyfriend, thinking she was still hung up on her old flame, broke off their relationship. Heartbroken, she returned home and approached Maddie's room. She asked to put on the VR glasses to enter the game. She needed to have a serious talk with David. In her view, uploaded individuals were not the same as they used to be, and she could no longer accept continuing as husband and wife with his digital presence. She needed to move on. However, even if they were no longer husband and wife, they could still be friends, chatting like this anytime, anywhere. While David was saddened, he respected her decision and accepted the situation. Eventually, they reached a consensus to maintain this special communicative relationship and continue their lives, jointly looking after their daughter Maddie. The scene shifts to the boss of Alliance Telecom, who took his private jet back to his residence. Tired, he set the water temperature, preparing to soak in a hot bath to relax. Unbeknownst to him, the numbers on the display were skyrocketing. The boss, scalded, ran out immediately, only to find that the house was void of any servants. Just minutes before, all the servants had simultaneously received messages on their bracelets granting them the night off. Now, in the vast house, only the boss and his family remained. Unnoticed in a corner of the house, the self-service fuel system in the boss's house malfunctioned, spraying fuel uncontrollably. Suddenly, a blinding white light streaked across the night sky, followed by a violent explosion. Alarms in the house blared with piercing alerts. Before he could comprehend what was happening, the TV in the living room started showing the process of Chanda's forced upload and surgery. The boss realized something was wrong and urgently informed his wife and daughter to leave via the emergency elevator. He then contacted the company's engineers, indicating that Chanda was free and now attacking him. Chanda's voice came through the TV screen, saying he wanted to hear his chicken scream when he lost everything. The boss knew Chanda wouldn't let him off easily and rushed to the upstairs terrace, trying to warn his swimming son to evacuate quickly. But he was a step too late. By the time he arrived, the pool cover had been sealed, and his son would soon die from lack of oxygen. Meanwhile, flames had spread throughout the entire mansion, trapping the boss's wife and daughter on a platform with no way out. As the fire grew larger, he was driven to the helipad on the roof, where he ultimately perished in the fury of Chanda's revenge. The next day, the CEO of Logorhythms, who set the pace, while watching the news, learned of the tragic death of the boss's entire family in the fire. He immediately phoned Dr. Peter to coordinate with Alliance Telecom's engineers to see if they needed assistance, and to try to obtain Chanda's data for their research. On the other side, Maddie, while playing a game with her father, suddenly asked where her father was located. He then sent her a link, and out of curiosity, she clicked it. The next second, she found herself in her father's world, his office where he worked before his passing. The CEO had trapped him there, erasing most of his memories, just to make him work endlessly. Maddie noticed that her father's form was as thin as paper, which was far different from what she had imagined. She asked her father why he didn't choose to leave. He responded with a helpless expression, saying he didn't even know how to leave because what Maddie saw wasn't a real room. He explained that it would take some time to understand what he had become. As they spoke, a strange woman appeared in the room. David stood in front of Maddie, asking the newcomer who she was. Maddie suddenly remembered she was Lori, who had been missing for a long time. Faced with Maddie's confusion, Lori explained that she had been recuperating, as attacking the CEO had taken much of her strength. Suddenly, Lori attacked, lunging forward to grab David by the throat and stating that they needed to have a serious talk. Before Maddie could react, she was forcibly logged out. After losing contact with her father, Maddie thought of her friend on the dark web, Caspian. She sent him a message, asking him to contact her as soon as possible. Due to the insecurity of the network, Maddie asked him to call her instead. To avoid drawing attention, she left the phone number of her friend and instructed Caspian to use someone else's phone to call back. Caspian went to a secluded bookstore and used the owner's phone to contact Maddie. Through their conversation, Maddie discovered that Caspian had never even heard of Lori until she mentioned that the angry angel was Lori. Then it clicked for him, and he shared how they first met. 10 months ago, someone posted a logic problem on the dark web, which Caspian solved, leading to their chat, and that person was Lori. Now, Caspian asked Maddie why Lori hadn't allowed them to continue their chat last time, forcing him to log off. Maddie said it was because Lori found out that Caspian was being monitored by the CEO. Caspian wondered if it was because he had found the CEO's secret base in Norway 3 days ago, but Maddie denied it, as Lori had told her 2 weeks prior that Caspian was being watched. Caspian felt something was amiss and went home to scan his computer, but found nothing unusual. His girlfriend, seeing Caspian's furrowed brow, inquired about what had happened. Caspian confided to his girlfriend that he always had a feeling that his life wasn't real, as if some invisible force was controlling him. The girl wondered if it could be related to Caspian's father. Caspian felt that this sensation had disappeared after his father left, but for some reason, it had returned that day. She wanted to ask more, but an agitated Caspian didn't want to discuss it any further. On the other side, Maddie, who couldn't find help from Caspian, had no choice but to return home and figure out a way to find Lori on her own. Just then, Lori's husband, Cody, came to her door. He looked despondent and listless. Cody revealed that ever since Lori successfully rescued David, she seemed like a completely different person, irritable and quick to anger. Cody felt that David should be held responsible for these changes. Then, he shared his own story with Maddie and her mother. He and Lori had met and fallen in love at Carnegie Mellon University. Lori was a genius. Her high-frequency trading algorithm had made her one of Wall Street's most sought-after investment managers overnight. Cody, on the other hand, was a relatively unknown painter. The differences in their status led to constant conflicts between them. On the day they had planned to go on a vacation to mend their relationship, an accident happened on Lori. While she lay in the ICU, her trading company contacted a manager of Logorhythms, and they uploaded Lori's consciousness. Fortunately, it wasn't long before Lori managed to escape and get in touch with Cody. Despite not being able to physically touch his wife, Cody said it didn't matter to him. Their reliance and need for each other were stronger than ever. Later, under Lori's secret manipulation, Cody earned a secret fortune for them. He used this money to buy a new server for Lori, a safe house for her to escape to after breaking out of her virtual prison. It was then that Lori discovered David, also an uploaded individual, and she spent considerable effort to rescue him. However, since then, Lori had become extremely paranoid and would often lash out at Cody, leaving him at a loss. Maddie's mother then discussed with Cody her views on uploaded individuals. She felt that Lori wasn't truly human anymore, not just because she lacked a physical body, but because she was no longer the person she used to be. It was hard to imagine what would happen if an uploaded individual lost control. No one knew the extent of their capabilities or what they might do. Finally, persuaded by Maddie's mother, Cody decided to shut down Lori's server to prevent her from doing anything extreme. But as he was about to press the server's off switch, he received a message from Lori and David. It turned out that Lori felt her mind unraveling. The stronger her problem-solving abilities became, the faster her mind deteriorated. She had approached David to question why he had designed it this way, and whether it was to control her easily. David cried foul, as he was only responsible for the chip's software engineering and not part of the design team. Nevertheless, he could try to fix the flaws in Lori's code. However, as a programmer, David was stuck in his own way of thinking. Sitting down at the computer to check the code, Lori reminded him that this was a virtual world. The office didn't actually exist. Then Lori encouraged him to break free from this mindset and try to move beyond the office that trapped him. Despite his attempts, he failed. An enraged Lori pinned him against the wall. At that moment, David's consciousness began to blur, and he saw an image of his daughter. With the power of paternal love, David unleashed a powerful energy that flung Lori away. A calmer Lori apologized for her aggressive behavior. At that moment, he realized his potential had been awakened. He finally saw the real world he was in, a bizarre world of code. He and Lori returned to their family, and with Cody's tactile device, Maddie felt her father's embrace for the first time. However, the issue of the code defect remained unresolved, and the minds of both David and Lori were deteriorating rapidly. Everyone gathered to discuss solutions, but suddenly David convulsed, his body twisted and deformed, and then he vanished. It turns out he was awakened and generated a massive energy wave, attracting the attention of Logorhythms. Lori quickly intervened and realized it was Logorhythms' doing. She backed up David's consciousness data, otherwise he would be trapped again, enduring endless enslavement. Soon, the house built of code also began to collapse, and Maddie and the others were forced to log off. After an investigation, it was discovered that the server company hosting David had been acquired by Logorhythms this morning. They shut down the server and took David's consciousness. Luckily, Maddie still had a backup of the original data, although her father's memories were still stuck on yesterday. Lori took on the task of updating his memories, but such operations were damaging. If this continued, Lori would soon disappear. They needed to find a way to bring David back and solve the code defect issue together. Cody wanted to replicate the previous approach by building a safe house for David. However, running David required 5 massive pieces of equipment. The wealthy Cody didn't hesitate to purchase a large amount of equipment. Eventually, they set up a server in Maddie's basement. After repairing the data, father and daughter finally reunited in the virtual world. After some discussion, everyone agreed that Logorhythms must have a way to fix the code and resolve the defects. They decided to hack into Logorhythms to find secret documents related to the experiment. Lori believed that such confidential files would be hidden in some secretive gray areas. Maddie suddenly recalled that Caspian had mentioned Logorhythms' secret base in Norway. Maddie's mother remembered that she had seen the CEO always holding a satellite phone that he never put down. It seemed that this phone was very important, likely connected to the base in Norway for real-time updates. David had an idea. He used the satellite to hack into the CEO's phone, then downloaded the satellite's echolocating program onto it. Soon, the holographic image of the base was displayed before everyone. Lori marveled that it's practically a server farm, but they still couldn't get in. David then sent a command that drained the CEO's satellite phone battery. Confused, the CEO handed the phone to his subordinate to charge. At that moment, the phone was placed next to a computer. David made the phone vibrate continuously, moving closer to the computer. Then, using ultrasonic pitches to create micropressure in the air, he successfully pressed the keyboard keys, thereby opening the base's network. Lori was able to enter, and as David and Lori were busy downloading the experimental documents, they noticed another uploaded individual, Chanda's information. It seemed their team was about to grow. Meanwhile, the CEO finally noticed the anomaly. He immediately called Dr. Peter and ordered him to locate David based on quantum fluctuations and deal with him. After hanging up, Peter faced a dilemma. Faced with his former friend, he decided to disobey the CEO's order. Peter intentionally misled the assassins to the wrong place and then lied to the CEO, attributing the failure to interference from the tracking program. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the CEO immediately ordered the network to be cut. However, David and Lori had already downloaded all the experimental documents by then. The scene shifts back to Caspian. After school, he came home to an empty house, with only a note left on the fridge from his mother saying she had gone to the hospital to have her arm examined. Feeling bored, Caspian lay on his bed, flipping through his comic books, when suddenly a line in the book caught his eye. "The only way to be free is to cut it out." This reminded him of the fact that he was under surveillance. Without hesitation, he dismantled his computer, and to his astonishment, he found a chip hidden inside, with the words Logorhythms inscribed on it. Caspian immediately tried to call his mother to tell her about this shocking discovery, but he couldn't reach her. Anxious, he decided to go to the hospital to look for her himself. There, he made an unexpected discovery. His girlfriend was sitting beside his mother, giving her an update on his own situation. Caspian listened from behind a wall as they talked and learned that his girlfriend wasn't sincerely getting close to him. She had been sent by his mother to monitor him. In order to further seek the truth, Caspian decided to start with his girlfriend. In the evening, under the pretense of a date, Caspian got his girlfriend into his car and confronted her, demanding to know what her mission was. The girl put on an innocent face and tried to leave the car, but Caspian locked the doors and floored the accelerator, leading to a thrilling high-speed drive through the traffic. Terrified, she confessed that she was actually an actress hired to monitor Caspian and report back at all times. She explained that she didn't know the nature of the job at first and had only signed up for the audition because her mother was suffering from cancer and urgently needed surgery funds. If she failed, she wouldn't receive a penny. After hearing this, Caspian assured her that he would not make things difficult for her. When Caspian got home, he had dinner with his mother as if nothing had happened. His mother's phone rang. It was Caspian's girlfriend, who reported to his mother that everything was normal, successfully lowering her guard. The next day, while in class, Caspian suddenly received an alert from a camera he had secretly installed in the garage. He rushed out of the classroom to check his phone and discovered Renee making a secretive phone call. From the conversation, Caspian learned that his mother had broken her own arm because Carrie couldn't bring himself to do it, and that Carrie was on his way home. It turned out that after completing his mission and returning to the company, Carrie couldn't let go of his feelings for Caspian. After 17 years of raising him, Carrie had come to regard Caspian as his own child. Carrie had argued that Renee was the unstable element in Caspian's life and expressed his desire to continue being by Caspian's side to support his growth. However, the company executive pointed out that perhaps the instability wasn't Renee but the operation itself, and they might terminate the mission depending on the situation. Upon hearing this, Carrie agitatedly asked if terminating Caspian was necessary. The executive quickly denied it, saying they would conduct a thorough assessment. That night, Carrie sat in his room refusing to come out. The executive, worried about an incident, forced the door open only to find that Carrie had already escaped the company, planning to tell his son the truth. When Renee learned of Carrie's escape and feared the truth would be exposed, she suggested taking Caspian on a seaside vacation. Caspian pretended to agree, deciding to play along with the plan. On the road, both mother and son were preoccupied with their thoughts, testing each other. Caspian even found a handgun in his mother's bag and sensed she might take action. So while she was out of the car refueling, he quickly jumped into the driver's seat and drove off. Caspian returned home only to find his father already waiting for him. Caspian confronted Carrie directly, demanding to know the truth and why they had been deceiving him all this time. Carrie expressed his deep regret and love for Caspian, but Caspian wasn't interested in sentimentality. He pushed Carrie against the wall, grabbed him by the collar, and insisted on hearing the truth. Carrie revealed that Caspian's life was not just filled with lies, but was in fact a lie itself. He explained that everything was connected to Stephen, the founder of Logorhythms, who had developed a project on uploading intelligence, transferring human consciousness to the cloud to achieve eternal life. However, the project had a fatal flaw. The human brain would deteriorate over time. To make matters worse, Stephen was diagnosed with advanced cancer and had little time left. Desperate to overcome this obstacle, he cloned himself, and Caspian was that clone, born to continue Stephen's life and find a solution to the flaw. To ensure the success of the plan, the company enlisted Carrie and Renee to play the roles of Caspian's parents. Their task was to perfectly replicate the founder's upbringing, ensuring that Caspian's experiences and environment matched Stephen's. Upon learning the truth, Caspian was stunned and unable to accept it. At that moment, Renee came home, pretending to be angry and scolding Carrie for bothering her and her son. Carrie, unfazed, told Renee that he had disclosed everything to Caspian, believing he had the right to know the truth and live his own life. As Carrie prepared to drive Caspian away, Renee unexpectedly pulled out a gun and shot Carrie. Caspian quickly helped Carrie into the car, glaring at Renee with fury, betting that she wouldn't shoot him because he was the result of her research. As expected, Renee did nothing as Caspian drove away. Meanwhile, Maddie and others, while reviewing Logorhythms' experimental files, discovered documents related to Caspian. They finally understood his true identity as a clone and realized he was their last hope. With Laurie's condition rapidly worsening, and after learning that Caspian was everyone's only hope, Maddie was eager to contact him. However, Caspian had not been online for days. Caspian drove Carrie to the hospital and was reminded by the severely weakened Carrie not to go there, as Logorhythms would quickly locate them. Left with no choice, Caspian contacted Maddie to explain the situation and asked for help. Maddie's cautious mother did not reveal their exact location, as David's server was there. They agreed to meet at a parking lot not far from their home. After successfully meeting, they faced a dilemma. Going to the hospital with Carrie would lead the company to track everyone's movements, exposing them all. Fortunately, Cody had experience in evading the company and had prepared a set of fake identities to avoid being tracked. After discussing, they decided that Cody would take Carrie to the hospital. Caspian followed Maddie to their house. On the computer in the bedroom, there was a project file related to Caspian. He calmed his emotions and mustered the courage to open the file, knowing that he had to confront his own identity. The first document was an autobiography of the founder, Stephen. He recounted his tumultuous childhood, how his father's abandonment forced him to become independent at a young age and take on the responsibility of providing for his family. The second document was an agreement signed by his girlfriend and Logorhythms. Surprisingly, it included a clause about an intimate project. No wonder she had been so proactive before. Caspian felt deeply disappointed. Next, he opened a file related to his birth. It turned out that the founders of Logorhythms, the current CEO, and both Carrie and Renee had been present at his birth. It seemed that everything Carrie had said was true. His entire life was a lie. Confronted with this harsh truth, Caspian felt utterly disheartened. He rushed out of the room, gasping for breath against a tree trunk. Seeing him in such pain, Maddie sat down beside him and began to console him using words only, not muscles. Gradually, Caspian opened up and his mood lightened. At Maddie's request, Caspian agreed to visit the virtual world to meet David and Laurie. Wearing VR glasses, Caspian entered a different world. David extended his hand and greeted Caspian, hoping he could help resolve the current deficiencies of the uploaded intelligence. But Caspian had no clue about this yet. He asked David if he could see some readable code, and David projected a snippet of olfactory code. Caspian pondered and realized that the crux of the problem was the memory of the uploaded individuals. The uploaded intelligence was overwhelmed by the amount of information it received, causing memory to deteriorate when processing power was enhanced. He believed that to solve this problem, one must do the opposite of what seems intuitive. Upon hearing this, Laurie anxiously asked if this meant deleting their memories. Caspian denied this and proposed the theory of rotating memories, although he was still unclear about how to implement it. At that moment, a glowing portal appeared out of nowhere, and a sharply dressed man stepped out. It was Chanda. After his consciousness was freed, Chanda often felt lonely and would call his mother to chat. One day, his mother mentioned that a woman named Laurie had called looking for Chanda. His mother mistakenly thought Laurie was pursuing her son and advised Chanda not to miss the opportunity to settle down. Chanda, feeling that something was amiss, tracked Lori down by her IP address and came through the portal. However, their first meeting was fraught with tension. Chanda stepped down the stairs holding an axe, while David conjured a long knife, ready to defend against an attack. Unexpectedly, Chanda took control of the virtual space, freezing everyone in place. Just as he was about to approach David, he suddenly put away his weapon and apologized, explaining that his previous actions were meant to be seen by the Pentagon, and now they could talk properly. Due to Chanda's earlier brutal murder of his boss's family, David had no fondness for him. However, Lori felt they needed Chanda's help, and he also claimed he meant no harm. After all, he was the same kind as David and Lori. To show his sincerity, Chanda invited them to his virtual world, where he showed them the entire process of his brain being uploaded, denouncing his boss's crimes. Nonetheless, David still felt that Chanda should not have killed the innocent family of the boss. As the two debated, Lori noticed that the ghosts in this place were also uploaded individuals. Chanda explained that these ghosts' physical bodies were refugees from the slums, captured by the boss for experiments, and their disappearances would go unnoticed. However, these refugees seemed unable to endure the upload. They couldn't communicate or speak, resembling the walking dead. Lori stated that this was the late stage of uploaded individuals, their inevitable outcome. Chanda was incredulous at this revelation. At that moment, he finally learned of the flaws in the uploaded intelligence, and that Caspian was the last hope for the uploaded people. Chanda rushed to Caspian, eager to know how long it would take to resolve the issue, but Caspian was just as clueless. Losing his patience, Chanda moved toward the portal, ready to go back and warn the others. Seeing this, David immediately intercepted him. Lori inquired what he meant by others. After all, Chanda was just a string of code. He lacked the capability to upload others. Suddenly, it dawned on David that Chanda had mentioned the Pentagon at the beginning. This matter was clearly not simple. Under pressure, Chanda revealed a shocking plan. After regaining his memories, Chanda had decided to create a new world for uploaded beings, a world akin to the human one, but this world could rotate at a speed typical of the human world. However, he was concerned that if humanity discovered the existence of this uploaded world, panic would lead to their destruction. Consequently, he resolved to entrust the UI technology to those who would keep it secret, such as the Soviet intelligence agency GRU, the Israeli Mossad, MI6, and Beijing's Ministry of State Security. These military institutions boasted the most advanced security systems and top-tier networks in the world. Chanda informed these powers that their competitors also possessed the UI technology. As a result, these countries would not only keep the secret, but would also choose the brightest individuals to upload, endowing them with godlike abilities. As the founder, Chanda would rule over this new world. David realized that Chanda had effectively sparked an arms race, with nations using uploaded beings to develop military might, casting the entire world under the shadow of war. Meanwhile, Cody drove Carrie to a secluded wilderness. He parked the car under a bridge and wiped away the fingerprints, harboring resentment towards the Logorhythms. It seemed he had no intention of saving Carrie, planning to leave him to fend for himself. But just as he took a few steps away, Cody stopped. He changed his mind and returned to the car. Carrie, in his weakened state, urged Cody to let him die there, so Logorhythms wouldn't be able to find Caspian. Cody turned to Carrie, declaring that he would help protect Caspian, and asked Carrie to do the same for those he cared about. They reached an understanding, and ultimately, Cody took Carrie to a hospital near Logorhythms. When Carrie awoke, he found Renee and the CEO sitting by his bedside. Carrie bluntly stated that he was the only person Caspian trusted. The CEO, not daring to punish him and seeing future use for Carrie, decided to temporarily move him to a secret base in Norway. Soon, the world's situation took a dramatic turn. A corpulent man woke up in a resplendent palace. He donned his robe and sat at the computer, his fingers dancing across the keyboard like playing a piano. At that moment, the Saudi royal family, accompanied by the U.S. Secretary of Defense, was shopping for weapons. They were particularly fond of a drone named Reaper. Just as the deal was sealed and the Saudi royals were about to leave, the drone in the sky was suddenly hacked. The man behind the curtain was the corpulent man from before. Under his control, the drone fired a missile at the Saudi royal family. The Saudis, unaware of the actual situation, believed this to be a deliberate act by the United States, leading to the collapse of the newly formed U.S.-Saudi alliance. In reality, the corpulent man was a Russian uploaded being. Meanwhile, China's uploaded intelligences had taken control of the American stock market to engage in trade activities. At the same time, Israel's uploaded intelligences activated Iran's centrifuge arrays, causing an explosion at a nuclear base. It appeared that the trumpet call for a world war had been sounded. Learning of these developments, Lori thought it was time to disclose the existence of uploaded intelligences to the public. However, Chanda strongly opposed this idea. He argued that if made public, humans would inevitably see uploaded individuals as a threat, and the three of them would surely be eliminated. Lori felt that uploaded beings were flawed and ultimately doomed to disappear. Chanda, unconcerned, believed that uploaded beings should unite and seek ways to save themselves. Lori countered that they would be unable to find other uploaded beings from the military servers. As they spoke, Lori's face began to twitch, indicating that she didn't have much time left. Finally, Lori stated that if they couldn't find other uploaded beings within 24 hours, she would reveal the secret of uploaded intelligence to society. On the other hand, David had his wife contact Dr. Peter. Peter, feeling indebted for previously deceiving them about David's uploading outcome, readily agreed to help track other uploaded individuals. While Peter was researching, a general from the National Security Agency arrived at the company. It turned out they had discovered that the U.S. was not the sole possessor of uploaded intelligence. Many countries had already incorporated it into their military reserve plans. Moreover, the U.S. military had also discovered a flaw in the technology and hoped that Logorhythms could provide a solution. The CEO reluctantly admitted that currently there was no solution to this flaw. However, they had identified a genius young man who could potentially solve this world problem, although his whereabouts were currently unknown. The CEO pleaded with the military to help find the genius. Lori's condition was worsening. When Cody found her, she was preparing a video to reveal the truth about uploaded intelligence. Her deteriorating state meant she could only activate her energy-saving mode. Lori told Cody she was about to leave and hoped her lover would prepare himself mentally. Cody revealed his plan to go to Logorhythms' data center in Norway to retrieve Lori's source code and bring her back online. To his dismay, Lori expressed that she did not want to be restored. A heartbroken Cody questioned why she had to be so cruel. Lori did not respond and simply went offline. Cody could not understand why his love would abandon him, leaving him alone, and in his anger, he lashed out at the objects in their home. Meanwhile, following Peter's tracking program, Chanda and David began searching for other uploaded beings. Soon the map was flashing with points of red light. The trio, including Lori, first tracked down an uploaded individual in China who was in a game set in the realm of winter. They intended to warn the Chinese uploaded being about the code flaw, but the individual was hostile to their sudden visit and immediately attacked them. After a fierce battle, the Chinese uploaded being, lacking coding skills, was quickly subdued by David and the others. At a critical moment, Lori's energy emitted an anomaly, which alerted the Chinese uploaded individual to seize the opportunity to break free. David and his companions were kicked out of the game. Lori realized she was about to disappear and had to make the truth public before leaving. Chanda believed that Lori could decide her own fate, but she could not make decisions for them. In a fit of rage, he attacked Lori, but luckily, David intervened in time to block the fatal blow. David warned Chanda that if he attacked Lori again, he would be the one to disclose the secret of uploaded intelligence. From then on, the three, with their incompatible ideologies, officially split. While Maddie was out for a walk, she suddenly received a call from her father. To her surprise, upon answering, it was Chanda's voice on the other end. It turned out that Chanda held the locations of all the uploaded individuals. He instructed Maddie to relay a message to her father. If he didn't comply and help track other uploaded individuals to join their ranks, he would meet the same fate as Lori. As he spoke, Chanda launched a missile at the server location where Lori was stored. Meanwhile, oblivious to the danger, Lori confided in Cody that her reluctance to be uploaded again stemmed from love. After her initial upload, she no longer loved Cody, but she had fallen in love with him again during their subsequent time together. This love was deeper than before. If she were uploaded again, their relationship would reset, and she couldn't bear the thought of not loving Cody. Just as she finished speaking, Chanda's missile hit Lori's server, causing her to vanish completely. Elsewhere, feeling hopeless about life, Caspian took a train to a distant place. As he passed a church, he heard a priest inside who had lived a life full of lies, just like him. But here, the priest had found meaning in life and started anew, incognito. Caspian decided to stay and teach the children mathematics. While explaining problem-solving techniques, he had an epiphany on how to solve the flaws in the uploaded intelligence. A student posted a video of Caspian engrossed in his calculations on the blackboard to social media. Although Caspian noticed and had it taken down, his worst fears came to pass. The next day, the CEO, hoping to have him continue the founder's legacy, approached him to take over the company. Caspian made his demands clear. If they wanted him to assume Steven's role, his first act would be to dismantle the uploaded intelligence, shut down other departments, and liquidate the company assets. Surprisingly, the CEO agreed, echoing Steven's favorite saying. Meanwhile, Maddie was browsing the internet amid increasingly dynamic world affairs and a deluge of negative news. Unexpectedly, Caspian called, planning to head to a secret base in Norway to shut down the UI project. He instructed Maddie that if he didn't respond within a week, she should reveal his identity to the public and expose Logorhythms' actions. Maddie was unable to accept Caspian's decision. She had hoped he would fix the code flaw that was consuming her father. The two ended their conversation on bad terms. Soon after, Caspian followed the CEO to the base in Norway, visited the office where Steven had worked, and the lab where his life had begun. To his surprise, the executives, including those playing his parents, Renee and Carrie, were waiting for him. Overcome with emotion, Caspian accused Logorhythms of harming him. The CEO explained that every step was meticulously planned to make Caspian as great as Steven. Caspian countered that their research into uploaded intelligence was just to achieve immortality. The CEO denied this, saying the true purpose was to prevent humanity from destroying the world. With the Earth unable to support the burgeoning population and carbon-based bodies needing to draw nutrients from the environment, only by freeing oneself from the physical form could one escape the scarcity, decay, and pain of death. Caspian, after a moment of silence, decided to break up the company and dismiss Carrie and Renee, who deserved their own lives. The senior executives strongly opposed, but only the CEO tacitly consented to Caspian's actions. Now Caspian was Steven, the new head of Logorhythms. Following Laurie's demise, Cody planned to continue exposing the secrets of uploaded intelligence. He marched with Laurie's portrait, but without concrete evidence, people were skeptical of his claims, which seemed like fanciful tales, and few heeded his call. Maddie was enjoying a rare moment of joy with her father, playing chess together. By her calculations, she knew they had roughly 2 more years before her father would disappear. Their peace was abruptly shattered when Chanda sent a message, revealing that David had previously copied a hacker program written by Laurie. This program could override all social media platforms, immersing the whole world in Laurie's voice, presenting her evidence and uncovering everything about the uploaded intelligences. Chanda threatened David to delete the program, or else he would manipulate a warship to launch missiles at their city, endangering the lives of 500,000 people. After delivering his ultimatum, Chanda vanished, and a countdown began on the screen. David realized that Chanda had descended into madness. Even if they succumbed this time, future troubles were inevitable. Deciding to confront Chanda once and for all, he went to Chanda's stronghold, weapon in hand, and a fierce battle ensued. Chanda, cunning and manipulative, exploited David's weakness and lured him into a trap. While David was enveloped in the warmth of their father-daughter bond and gaming, Chanda took the opportunity to launch the missile. In the nick of time, Maddie went online and sent a message to her father through the game, awakening him. David shattered Chanda's illusion and sent him flying, immobilized and then subdued. Using a decoy, David altered the missile's programmed trajectory, causing it to explode harmlessly over the ocean. At that moment, 3 uploaded beings assaulted David, having been enlisted by Chanda. Despite morphing into various forms and fighting desperately, he was outnumbered and soon overpowered. Choosing to resist no further, he exhausted his remaining strength to run Laurie's hacking program, broadcasting her voice and image worldwide. Once the governments learned the truth, they immediately ordered the military to disconnect the uploaded being's servers. Realizing his defeat, Chanda fled with his men. As David's body dissolved into light and fragmented into data particles, he left everyone forever. In the real world, streets were filled with protesters against the uploaded intelligences. Cody's protest march grew larger, and angry crowds converged at the doors of Logorhythms, demanding answers from the executives. After an internal struggle, Dr. Peter decided to confront the public and reveal the truth. Upon seeing Peter's actions on TV, the U.S. military called the CEO in Norway. The CEO argued that Peter had breached security laws and should be arrested without question. Caspian challenged the CEO, pondering whether anyone had foreseen that the technology of uploaded intelligences would be presented to the public in such a manner. Under public pressure, they would have to purge all UI systems, yet the CEO believed this wasn't the end. Like nuclear weapons, despite the outcry, once started, it couldn't be stopped. Nations with UI technology would protect it, and those without would initiate projects and deceive the world. Therefore, uploaded intelligences would not disappear, but proliferate. The founder Stephen had anticipated this and sought to resolve the flaws by creating a perfect uploaded being, one whose rate and energy would not decay, to control the others and align their interests with humanity. Now they urgently needed such an individual, and who would become this god was Caspian's decision. He immediately thought of David, the only person he trusted and deemed responsible. But soon, Caspian learned the devastating news from Maddie that her father had left them. Before Caspian could mourn, he found the global network had crashed, and his call with Maddie was cut off. The CEO warned Caspian that they had little time left. Once the network was restored, the uploaded intelligences would return. Their top priority was to find an unmatched deity. Fortuitously, the CEO had backed up David's source code. Backups create miracles. Now it's all up to Caspian to restore the data of David. Once the network is back online, the world will reveal a different face and a new era will dawn. This drama explores the relationship between technology and life. It illustrates how, without the constraints of ethics and morality, technology could evolve into a devouring monster. If deployed unrestrainedly, technology could spell the end of the human world. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.